So today's topic is, or question for the day is, what is mindfulness? And we're drawn here to Insight Timer, um, many of us to pursue the practice of mindfulness, um, to develop a mindfulness practice. And yet, for a lot of us, there are misconceptions and myths um, regarding the very nature of mindfulness and what it is and what it isn't, and what does it mean to practice mindfulness and how it can impact our lives. And so that's why I thought it would be a great session to explore this very basic and yet kind of complicated or complex idea or concept of mindfulness. And in particular, I think the idea of radical presence and radical acceptance in a world that feels uncontrollable, uncertain, um, full of change um, and uncertainty around us, right? So, um, and I think one thing to think about as we start is that mindfulness often gets lumped into kind of the self improvement, self growth kind of bucket, but it's really about meeting yourself and your circumstances where you are, right? It's about being present right now and accepting that reality, right? So it's a real grounding and clarity about who you are and where you are and what's going on right now. So it's about meeting yourself rather than improving yourself. There will be self improvement that comes from a mindfulness practice, but it's really about meeting yourself where you are um, and being fully present with that. Um, so, what is mindfulness? Um, at its core, mindfulness is about being fully present, paying attention uh, in this moment, right now, with intention, on purpose, right? It's a level of focus on what is happening right now in this moment, which again is the only thing that's real. The only thing that's real is this moment, right? The past is a story that is uh, inaccurately remembered, right? We don't remember what actually happened. Um, and there's nothing we can do about it. We can't change the past. And the future is unknown. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. There could be people who are going to be pivotal people in our lives, and we don't even know them yet. They might be coming into our lives tomorrow or next week or the week after or next month. And so the future is unwritten. So the only thing that's really real and the only thing that we can get any certainty about and the only thing we have any control over, partial control, but still some control, is this present moment. And so mindfulness is first and foremost about being as clear as we can about now, right? Not time traveling to the past or the future, but being grounded in the now, in this moment. And then trying to be curious and kind about how we show up in this moment, right? Because what distracts us from truly being present, even when we're not time traveling, is that we fall into judgment. We start judging ourselves and other people. And we get lost, we get pulled away, we get distracted from being present and observant, and get lost in our heads with all of the judgment that either we're doing towards ourselves or doing towards other people or worrying about other people doing towards us. And so curiosity and kindness, and people don't talk about this enough, are key components to being mindful. right? And to having a good mindfulness practice. Um, it's not about zoning out. Like sometimes people think about meditation and mindfulness, and it feels like, oh, I've got the Zen, no mind. And no, it's like mindfulness is about being present, about being conscious, right? It's about being aware, it's about being observant, right? Again, like we talk about when we meditate, thoughts are going to intrude, right? Be, being the observer allows us to observe our thoughts non-judgmentally and then choose what to focus on moving forward, right? Not to be controlled by our thoughts. So when we're practicing mindfulness, whether it's on the cushion or in our day-to-day lives, it's about being observant, right? And fully present in observing, right? And not lost in judgment and fear and anxiety and all that. It's not about positive thinking, right? The power of positive thinking and all that. It's really about kind of trying to be an objective observer, of being fully present in this moment and not trying to sugarcoat, right? Or be cynical, like the opposite way, negative thinking and energy. No, it's you're trying to be neutral. You're trying to see things as they are and to see yourself as you are, right? To, again, as I said at the beginning, to meet yourself where you are, to meet the context in which you are, right? The circumstances in what you are right now, right? That's what it's about. Um, it's a radical acceptance of who you are and the way things are right now. Often we create suffering in our lives and distract ourselves by resisting the current realities of who you are and where you are and what's going on around you. Uh, and we get, I talked about this last week in my session a bit. We get caught up in the, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't be this way. You shouldn't do that. Mindfulness allows us to just be observant, right? To be neutral, to to get clarity. It's not about acceptance in the sense of approval, right? It's not approval. That's why some people struggle with mindfulness because it feels like being fully present and not just reacting instinctively to situations and getting into judgment phase is about approval. It's not. It's about really just getting clarity. It's not about giving up, though we sometimes talk about the word surrender, right? And surrendering with mindfulness. But it's not about surrendering in terms of I give up, there's nothing I can do about this. No, it's the opposite. It's saying I've I'm surrendering to the reality that like right now this is the way it is. But that clarity about where you are and who you are right now and what's going on around you is what empowers you to make change moving forward if you decide to make change, right? Because if you don't see things clearly about who you are right now and what's going on around you, how can you be expected to be successful at making change if you're being dishonest with yourself or unclear with yourself about where things are at right now? That makes no sense, right? So it's not about giving up. On the contrary, it's about just understanding that I can't change what happened to get me here. Here I am. That's just an objective reality. Here are my circumstances. That's an objective reality, right? As best we can. We're still limited, of course, in our senses and all that, but that's what we're trying to do with mindfulness. We're trying to be so present that we understand this is who I am, this is where I'm at, this is what's going on. Now I can be rational and thoughtful about where do I want to go next, right? What do I want to do with these circumstances? Which do I want to try and change? What do I want to try and change in myself, right? But that requires you to be present, to stop resisting reality, right? We create suffering and confusion by resisting reality. It's wasted energy, right? I spent some time, I don't know, it must be like 8 years ago in Thailand one summer, about 3 weeks or so. And I was really taken with the Thai Buddhist approach towards this. And the saying that they had, sabai sabai, it is what it is. And it became my mantra coming back because I was really kind of burned out with my job at the time. I was running this innovative lab school, and I was really burned out on the job of being director. And, it was a job that I really never wanted, to do. But it felt like I needed to, I was supposed to. And, but in Thailand, I really realized, like, yeah, I'm resisting reality. I'm resisting these facts. I'm in this job. Here's where I'm at. This is what the job is. This is what it isn't. These are the parts I like. These are the parts I don't like. That's all reality. What do I want to do moving forward? Do I want to leave the job? Do I want to change the way the job looks? Do I want to change where I put my focus and my energy and my emphasis in the job? Right? The things that I can't change about it, I need to get to radical acceptance and accept that that's just a part of the job. Right? Sabai sabai. It is what it is. Right now, it is what it is. What do I want to do with this situation moving forward? This is my starting point. Can't do anything about it. It was so empowering to me, right? The whole staff started talking in those terms, right? We'd go around every day, like something, and we go, okay, sabai sabai. It is what it is. What do we want to do moving forward? And it was really like, oh, now we have a solid launch pad, right? Mindfulness and acceptance, radical acceptance of the way things are right now means I have a solid launch pad for moving forward, right? For launching what comes next. And that's empowering, right? That's really different. It's really different. If you're unhappy with the way you feel or look physically, or your level of exercise or nutrition, whatever, it is what it is. Right now, this is where I'm at. That just is. Where do I want to move moving forward? Do I want to move my body more every day? Do I want to change what I eat and how I eat and how much water I take in or whatever? Like, then, okay, make those changes, right? But right now, non judgmentally, no guilt, no like looking back, shame. Just it is what it is. This is where I'm at. I have some control over where I go next. Where do I want that to be? How do I want to do that? Right? That's what mindfulness empowers you to do. It feels radical, even scary for some people, even impossible for some people sometimes, because we've been trained our whole lives to resist, right? To distract ourselves, to optimize outcomes, be maximizers rather than satisficers. Um, to numb ourselves, to doom scroll, right? We 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 have become people who, for the most part, uh, have a low tolerance um, for discomfort, for boredom, for quiet, right? For being still, right? Especially with our phones, right? I noticed that with myself, early on with phones, that if I was in the checkout line at the supermarket, you know, a second, maybe two, I'd have my phone out. Instead of just being present, using it as a moment of calm, to contemplate, to breathe, to be friendly to the person next to me in the checkout line or the checkout person, right? Whatever it is, like to just be present with the people around me. And it's been nice, like ever since I've stopped taking the phone out, I almost always have a nice conversation with the checkout person, right? Particularly if I go to Trader Joe's, like they just tend to be so friendly, anyways. It's wonderful. Like it's a really nice part of the afternoon now. Um, we really need to tolerate the pause, right? The being present, being the observer, not feeling like we have to be on the go or distracting ourselves all the time. Being present means tolerating stillness, seeking it even, so that we can observe what's going on around us. And think about the things that we might hear and see and experience by being more present, right? When you're on a walk, instead of always putting on a podcast or listening to music, whatever, you get to listen to the birds or children playing and laughing, right? That you'll be, instead of lost in what you're listening to, you see the trees and the flowers and the bugs and the animals running around. Like there's so much beauty around us all the time that we just race by, right? Or distract ourselves from by putting on the headphones, right? Or, otherwise distracting ourselves, right? Getting lost in our own minds. Mindfulness allows us to be fully present, right? To learn how to sit through the discomfort and turn it into something that actually is a gift, right? And by dealing with discomfort and boredom and all that, we develop a tolerance for that and a resilience. And that then gives us the opportunity for our subconscious to have more processing power. And out of boredom and sometimes discomfort and stillness comes creativity and inspiration and epiphanies that we never get the chance for if we're constantly distracting ourselves, right? Mindfulness is so important for being present in the moment so that these really good things can happen that otherwise can't, right? That allow us to be connected to each other and to nature and to the universe, right? In ways that can't be when we're distracting ourselves, right? And we're lost in our negative self talk, our time traveling, or again, distracting ourselves with our phones or something else, right? Um, to remind ourselves that, like, everything's impermanent, right? Everything's temporary. And therefore, I can tolerate some discomfort, some boredom, some quiet, right? I can tolerate that. It's temporary. It's not going to be going on forever. And I can be fully present when there's something good going on. I'm having a conversation with somebody. I'm with somebody that I care about. I'm in an important meeting. I'm taking a walk. I can be present and get more out of those situations, which also are temporary and are offering me gifts, right? Like understanding the law of impermanence and that everything is temporary, it begs for mindfulness. It begs for radical presence, right? So we need to be able to give that gift to ourselves, right? So that we can accept the gifts of these different situations that are all temporary. Um, One of the things that gets in the way also is that there are these myths and misconceptions around mindfulness. One is that we have to have an empty mind, right? That's kind of no mind. I remember when I first started studying meditation and mindfulness when I was a teenager, and I was studying the martial arts, and the whole Zen no mind kind of philosophy. Um, Yeah, sure. There are elements of a mindfulness practice of meditation where sometimes you're going to have a quiet mind. It can be a really interesting and powerful and beautiful experience. But for the most part, even when we're meditating on the cushion, we're going to have thoughts and truth. People beat themselves up thinking that no, that's a bad thing, and they get all judgmental with themselves. No, thoughts are going to intrude. That's what they do. The Dalai Lama says he goes 3 or 4 seconds typically between thoughts intruding while he's meditating. Like, you expect to be better than the Dalai Lama? Come on. So the thoughts intruding are an opportunity to be the observer, to practice your mindfulness, to observe the thought rather than judging it or rather than just blindly following it down a rabbit hole and getting lost with it, right? Getting distracted by it. Instead, the thought becomes an opportunity to go, oh, there's a thought, let it go, refocus back on my breathing or on the sound of the person's voice who's leading the meditation. Or if I'm doing a mindful walk, back to observing the trees and the birds and the animals and the flowers, right? If I'm doing mindful chores at home, washing the dishes, right? That thought came, it left, and now I'm back with the dishes, right? Like, it's okay. We're not looking for empty mind. We're looking to be the observer and not controlled by our thoughts, right? To be able to refocus, right? So that should hopefully alleviate you. And the other thing, right, that people tell themselves, oh, I'm just not good at mindfulness. I'm not good at meditating, right? Noticing that you are distracted easily is mindfulness. You are being mindful. You are being aware of what's going on up here right now, right? So you're not failing at mindfulness, right? You just may be having more opportunities to observe what's going on up there than some other people do, right? But it's not that you're not capable of it or good at it, right? Um, some people say, like, oh, I don't have time for meditating or for mindfulness practice. Things are too busy and hectic. When things calm down, I'll think about that. No, this is the path to calm, right? There are going to be a lot of things going on in your life a lot of the time. One way to create calm, to create more presence for yourself, to slow things down, is to develop a mindfulness practice. And by this, I mean not just a mindfulness practice that once a day I sit on a cushion for 10 or 20 minutes and meditate. It's a mindfulness practice throughout the day, right? That you're trying to be mindful and practice mindfulness all the time, right? It is a practice, it is a way of being, right? And it will lead you to experience more calm and hopefully more joy, more presence, more appreciation, more gratitude, right? And it will slow things down as a result, right? Shift your perspective, right? So that's a beautiful thing. Um, I've been talking a lot. Questions, thoughts, confusion, things that you can relate to or that resonate with you, pop them in the chat. Um, if you also want to share where you're tuning in from, that's great, because I love an active chat. I love to have a sense of community when we're here, and it's one of the things that I love about Insight Timer. So if you feel comfortable popping something in the chat, do that. I'm sure somebody else will go like, "Oh my God, I was just thinking the same thing," or "I was feeling the same thing." Um, so feel free to do that. Um, Maybe I'll also like pose a question to you, and you may even want to close your eyes for a few moments and see what comes up for you. But when you're thinking about your own mindfulness practice, um, where do you feel the most resistance to mindfulness and to developing your mindfulness practice? What do you feel like within you creates the most resistance, um, and where you'd like to create more of a sense of allowing rather than resisting? Again, you may want to even just, what comes up for you? What do you think gets in the way? Where is there resistance to being fully present, to being in the now, not judgmental, observing, clarity about what really is right now, who you are, where you are, what's going on around you, and to be able to see that as it really is? What gets in the way? Where do you resist that? Amma says, maybe forgetting to be mindful. Yeah, that's so interesting, right? We're so, uh, again, as I said earlier, programmed to distract ourselves, to avoid being present, right? To not sit with any discomfort. Um, that a lot of us, even those of us who are committed in some way, shape, or form to mindfulness, here we are in Insight Timer, right? I mean, you're of the whole population of the world, you're in the probably 0.001%, right? Of committed to mindfulness, and yet it's easy to forget to be mindful, right? So So what do you do with that? Well, here's what I try and do. I try and create a few moments during the day where I am more likely to be reminded to be mindful, right? And so I've got the morning when I get up, I journal, right? And I set intentions, and mindfulness is usually one of my intentions. So right off the bat, I'm telling my brain first thing when I get up, mindfulness is important. I'm practicing it in the moment, and I'm setting it as an intention. Meditation, also at some point in the morning, ideally some point before bed as well. And then I have the luxury as a meditation and teacher and life coach here that uh, I have live events here and on other platforms, uh, so that there's at least a couple of days a week where I've got built-in mindfulness practice and reminders here. Same thing when I'm working with life coach clients, right? Um, so I've got these kind of built-in things, but I also what I try to do with my meditation and journaling is I try to think about times where I could really benefit from being more mindful, more present, having more clarity in the moment, be less reactive, buy myself that pause so that I can choose how to react or respond. And I do some visualization in my meditation and my journaling. I visualize those situations and how I would like to handle it in a way that reflects mindfulness and clarity and objectivity and a pause and where I feel empowered. And the more I do that visualization, the more in the moment when I'm facing those situations, I react and respond in a mindful way, right? I also try to find other opportunities to practice mindfulness. Washing dishes. I used to hate washing the dishes. Now I love washing the dishes. It's part of my mindfulness practice, right? Love it. Uh, Walks. I try and make sure that at least part of a walk, no headphones, just being mindful, observant, right? I'm fortunate enough to live right near the ocean. So, later today, probably when I get off of here, I'm going to take a walk down by the ocean. I'll make sure that part of it is listening to the waves and listening to the birds and, watching the rhythm of the waves going in and out, like being really present, other people, just, the sky, just being observant, right? No agenda, just being present, right? So that's how I try to just incorporate more and more reminders and more mindfulness practices, and then it tends to seep in to other parts of my life. I hope that makes sense. Um, yeah, you're saying autopilot is your constant default, right? And so part of that shift is to try and shift towards maybe a mix of the two, and eventually where mindfulness becomes more and more the default, right? And what that would look like, maybe some journaling around that. Mass says, would love to hear your thoughts on feeling like you should be doing something more productive when practicing, especially in an output focused culture. Woo! Yeah, like Lana says, like another thing on my to do list. Yeah, it can feel that way, right? But that is the challenge, right? That we've been programmed to value productivity above everything else and to treat every aspect of life like it's work. Like Lana, you talk about the to-do list. You know, how many of you know people, maybe you are one of these people, where when someone asks them, on a Thursday or Friday, like, hey, what do you get going on this weekend? I'm like, oh, Saturday, I got to do. Blah, 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 blah. It's just like a work day, except the to-do list is about chores and errands and whatever, instead of your work to-do list. But it's just another work to-do list. It's just your homework instead of your work. And we need to ourselves make a conscious choice that we want to live in alignment with our core values and beliefs, not what society or certain people in our lives, our parents or whoever, programmed into us, right? We are not here to be productive. We're here to be human beings and to live with purpose and meaning. right? And to hopefully do so in a way that maximizes enjoyment and health and longevity while, reducing the suffering of other people, ideally, right? That what brings us purpose and meaning, what at the end of our days tends to give people a greater sense of life satisfaction, is our relationships, right? The health and quality of our relationships, and learning and growing. Did we learn and grow throughout our lives? And did we make a difference, right? Did we ease the suffering of other people? Were we of service to other people? That's what living a good life tends to be about, right? I've talked about this book and the Harvard study that it's about, right? The Good Life. They've been studying the same people and their families for almost a century, right? For like 85 years at this point. And, um, uh, and that's what they found. Good life is relationships, making a difference in the lives of others, learning and growing. So that doesn't mean like I have to be producing all the time, right? And it means being present, like being fully present in your relationships, right? Being fully present so that you can see where you can be of help and of service to other people, right? To be curious rather than judgmental so that you can learn and grow, right? And so mindfulness is at the core of that. So being more present means not wasting your life racing through it, trying to produce as much crap and look as busy as you can. And that's the other thing. The to-do list mentality and the productivity mindset is not about quality usually. It's about appearances. A lot of us want to feel and look busy because we're afraid that other people will judge us as being lazy if we're not, and wasting our time if we're not. But we shouldn't be living our lives in fear of other people's judgment. We need to make values driven decisions on our own of what really matters to us and what's good for us. And the only way to make those decisions well is to be fully present, to live a mindful life, right? And if sitting on a cushion for 10 minutes in the morning helps you do that better throughout the day, then that's a great investment of your time, right? Or if it just brings you 10 minutes of peace and calm, that's good for your health. It's good for your brain. It's good for your body. We know that it has all these other really positive effects on us over time, right? That's a good thing. It doesn't look productive, but it actually is. And it's probably more productive than a lot of the other things you would have spent your time with, right? So to some extent, it's not just about getting out of the productivity mindset and the need to look and feel busy, but it's redefining what productive means, right? Sleep is maybe the most important thing for your health and your well-being and your success at work and in your relationships. Do you have good productive sleep, like sleep in which you have the time and the quality of sleep that allows your brain and your body to recharge and to process and to cleanse and do all the things that it needs to do, right? Now, you don't look like you're being very productive, but sleep is one of the most productive times of your day in terms of what goes on inside your brain and your body, right? But that's a different definition. And it's not about appearances, right? I think, Mass and Lana, for a lot of us, what's really going on with that productivity mindset is appearances. We're trying to play a role. That doesn't have integrity. That's not being authentic, right? That's playing a role. It's wearing the mask of the productive and busy person. Rather, be really mindful, intentional, purposeful about the choices that you make in how you spend your time, where you put your energy, where your focus is directed. and make sure that those choices are in alignment with who you really are and who you want to be, your core values, what really matters to you, right? Your health, well-being, being of service to other people, your relationships, etc. Right? Um, that that form of living in alignment and living authentically and having integrity, that is what's going to make you better at everything, your relationships, your work, you name it. It's a win-win across the board, right? But playing the role of the busy person, the productive person, uh, short term you might get away with it, but long term you won't, right? Personally or professionally. I hope that makes sense. Um, any other questions or thoughts or pushback or things that are resonating with you or things you're struggling with when it comes to mindfulness and living a truly mindful life with radical acceptance of where things are and who you are right now? Any any other thoughts or questions or scenarios that are really tough? I think part of it, as I said earlier too, is trying to identify the areas of your life maybe where it is challenging to be mindful and to experience this radical acceptance of the way things are right now, and doing some visualization around that, right? When you meditate or journal, and imagining what it's going to look and feel like for you to be mindful in those situations. And then to use that mindfulness, that acceptance of where things are as your launch pad, right? Your launching point for moving forward in a way that feels aligned with who you are and who you want to be, right? I think that's a great way to build a better mindfulness practice. And as we were saying earlier, with Amit, to remember to be mindful, right? To be more mindful about being mindful. It becomes easier if you do more visualization around that on a regular basis, right? As well as setting your intentions in the morning, etc. Um, and again, I think it's about building in those mindful moments throughout the day, right? The washing the dishes, the taking the walk, even just taking a moment, once every hour or so, particularly if you're at a desk a lot, to stand up, look outside, just take a minute. You want to set a timer? Fine, set a timer for a minute, and just what do you see? I see a lot of snow. I see the bay, the harbor is frozen over, which is amazing, right? Um, I see the skyline off in the distance. I mean, it's a beautiful vista that I can go hours with just being focused on my screen, and this amazing view is right here, right? So if I could just once every half an hour, just go, wow, this is awesome. How fortunate am I? I feel good. I just got a little hit of dopamine, I think, right? It's great, right? So build these little mindfulness practices, these mindfulness moments into your life, right? Um, it doesn't, mindfulness doesn't remove the pain from our lives. It's not like we're going to go around, Zen masters all the time, right? Silly smile on our faces or something. But it does eliminate a lot of the suffering that we cause ourselves from resisting reality, resisting the facts of who we are and the circumstances that we're in right now. And because of that resistance and suffering that denies us the actual empowerment to do anything about it, we alleviate some of our future suffering as well, because we can really accept where things are now and put our energy into what do I want to do with this moment to create a better version of myself and a better life for myself and others moving forward, right? So we do get rid of some of the extra suffering in life that is a choice, right? um, and then it's like I said at the beginning, it's not about giving up, right? Or surrendering in the sense of giving up and just accepting that this is the way things are going to be. It's about accepting the way things are now. It's meeting life and meeting yourself where you are and where life is right now so that you can move forward with clarity, right? In creating the best version of your authentic self and the best version of your life that you want moving forward, right? Um, I think that's huge. I think that's huge, right? Um, any more thoughts or questions or reactions? Pop them in the chat. Um, while people are doing that, maybe a takeaway, like what's your big takeaway from this, or or how about this for some of you? What's one small step you're going to take today or tomorrow to be more mindful, to practice more mindfulness, to be more present? Is it trying to not be so judgmental towards yourself? Is it, I'm going to take a mindful walk today? Is it, I'm going to go do the dishes finally and do it in a mindful fashion? No music, no nothing, no podcast, just be mindful about there's the dirt. I'm scrubbing the dirt off. I'm adding more soap. I mean, literally just being mindful about what's going on and what you're seeing. Um, what is it? What's one small step you're going to take that's going to enhance your mindfulness, right? If something resonated and you'd like to support this free live content with a donation, it's deeply appreciated. So I thank you in advance for that. If anybody feels so inclined to make a donation, um, I also hope you're following me here. I've got a group as well on Insight Timer for people trying to live with more integrity and joy, and uh, and so you can join that through my profile here. And if you're interested in, doing deeper work, certainly check out my profile and reach out. I have a lot of meditations here on Insight Timer. If you haven't already, I hope you'll check those out and rate and review those. And if there's a meditation or a theme you'd like me to talk about in a future meditation or live session, pop that in the review, and let me know what you'd like. I want to be as responsive as possible and really create a sense of community here because we're all in this journey together. Um, and and I do these um, live sessions once a week. Um, so I'll be doing one next week. I don't know if it's available for you to sign up yet, but it's going to be next Wednesday at noon Eastern, and it's on grief. We're going to be talking about grief, which is something that a lot of people don't like talking about and try to avoid talking about. And that's partly because we often have an unclear understanding of grief and the role it plays in our lives, and too much judgment and a sense of what's right and wrong, and so we'll explore that and hopefully come away with a healthier approach towards grief and grieving. So I hope you'll sign up for that too. And yeah, so I hope that I hope you'll again follow me and be here again at least next week. Amma says, to be more consistent about setting intentions, visualizing, scripting my day to create better version of myself. Thank you. You're welcome. I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's not even so much about scripting as I think the intention setting. You're right, and the visualizing, right, and because then your brain is looking for more opportunities to create that good feeling that you created when you set the intention or you did the visualization, and that's phenomenal that all of a sudden you have your kind of your subconscious on the lookout for ways to be more mindful and to be more present, which is really beautiful. So thank you all again, appreciate it. Don't forget to follow me, and again, check out the meditations. I also have a mini course on living with integrity and joy, so I hope you'll take that. It's well reviewed and people seem to like it, so I hope you'll take that as well. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm sending you all a lot of love and gratitude. One of the beautiful things in my life is to have this community here. And for me, it is one of the moments of greatest mindfulness in my week too. I just feel so present with all of you, and uh, the wonderful energy here on Insight Timers. So thank you all for being a part of that. So thank you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.